For today's review, we are looking at Etrigan The Demon. And before I talk about the accessories and the figure, let's take a quick look at the data profile card. As you can see, for the photo of the card, it is action figure photography. Pretty cool. And this design of Etrigan is based on the source material, Demon Knights. And on the back side, you do have your usual read-up for who the character is. His real name is Etrigan, of course. And it reads, Jason Blood, once a mortal man who lived centuries ago, was bound to Etrigan after the demon was summoned by none other than the wizard Merlin. Jason was rendered immortal and granted the ability to swap places with his demonic counterpart upon saying the magic words. Though Jason has tried many times to exert his will over Etrigan while he is transformed, the demon is too powerful to be completely contained. Still, more often than not, Etrigan, despite his nature, is interested in the greater good, even if his motives and methods remain suspect. And that's a pretty good read-up on who this character is. And I just want to point out that last part is interesting because that's a pattern that you see every time this character shows up in the animated projects that he's been a part of. Nobody trusts him because he's a freaking demon. Alright, with that said, let's talk about the accessories that are included with this figure. He does not come with any interchangeable hands or alternate head sculpts. All he has as an accessory is his sword. And I think the sculpting of the sword is nicely done here. It does capture the vibes that fits the character, in my opinion, even the hilt of the sword. And one thing I do like as well is that there are some details on the blade here that does capture the sort of battle damage, worn outness that you can see. So it just shows you that he's been using the sword for a very long time. And for the painting of the blade, there is a little bit of a metallic paint here that has been coated, but it's not as shiny. So in this case, if you want to make it stand out more, you could take a metallic marker that's silver color or a silver metallic paint and just paint it over to make it shine a little bit more. This is solid plastic and this is soft PVC. I don't like this combination because every time I see this, it's just like a reminder of why can't they just use the same plastic material for this hilt area for the rest of the blade? It's always this pattern. Like, look at how warped it is. When you use soft material, this is what happens all the time. If they were to use the solid plastic, this sword part right here for the blade would not warp as easily. So there's the sword accessory. I will show how this looks like on the figure later in the video. And let's move on to the aesthetics of the figure itself. And the first thing that is quite noticeable with this version of Etrigan is that he's very humanoid looking in the way he stands. Usually when I see this character, he's always very hunchback, he's always crouching most of the time, like that's usually how he stands in every depiction I've seen of the character. But this version, he does not stand like that at all. So that's the first most obvious change right here. But for the rest of the design of the character, it is very much Etrigan. So let's start with the head sculpt right here. As you can see, this is what the character always looks like, right? He has the two horns up here. He has these sort of like aquatic looking ears. I don't think he's an aquatic demon because usually demons have a lot of features that are just very random. They're like a amalgamation of everything, I guess. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, not a bad face sculpt. It does capture his mood right now, which he always has that sort of grumpy look to him because he's never happy. And there it is. He's grumpy right now, even in this face sculpt. It would have been cool if he had an alternate head sculpt where you can see an angry face expression because that would work for this character. But sadly, that was a missed opportunity, so they did not do that. And moving on to the rest of the figure itself when it comes to the things that he's wearing, the armor parts are very nicely sculpted on here. I really like what they did with some of the design elements here, as you can see. Very much captures the period of time that this armor comes from. You can see those patterns on the shoulder parts on both sides, even down here by the legs with the leg armor, so that's pretty cool. And even the sculpt detail of what he's wearing underneath the armor, it is actually sculpted. This is textured, this is not printed on, and you can see how it's not just these areas. even the soft part of his skirt pieces here have some sort of texturing to them, right? Like you can see that as well, even on the back side, and even his cape right here. If you look closely, you can see all these little texture marks to try to replicate like actual cloth material. I really like what they did with this figure when it comes to all of these details that are present. And even for his gauntlet here, the crazy part is this is also solid plastic, which is kind of weird because if you're not going to make his sword have solid plastic for the blade, why do it for the armor part right here with the spikes? If you're, let's say that this is because of some sort of safety reason, this is why they got to make the blades more of this softer material. You would think that they would do that with these spiky parts right here, but they don't. So really weird choices being made here. Like there's like good and bad stuff going on at the same time. And with his hands, he does have, his fingernails, as you can see right there. Those are also solid plastic. It is crazy how much solid plastic is on this figure, as well as like soft plastic in the areas that actually need that sort of material. So yeah, overall, the entire sculpt of this figure is very nicely done. When it comes to paint apps, though, you can argue that maybe it could be a little bit better, but you have to remember, this figure was $20 at the time that it came out, and for a $20 figure at this point in time, this was a lot of details right here. Now it's time we talk about the articulation of this figure. So I want to start with the head sculpt here. As you can see, he can look up. He can also look down, kinda, not the best. He can turn his head left and right. He can also tilt his head side to side. So his articulation with the head sculpt is decent, but, it's not the best. For his arms, he can lift up this high. This shoulder part right here is attached to the body, not to his arm. And he can swing out this much. He will hit this part right here. So if you want to swing it all the way back, you technically can do it like this, just to move it like that. He does have butterfly joints, but they are useless. They're meant to cover in the gaps. For his arm, he does not have a bicep cut. Instead, he has the single jointed articulation with a swivel underneath, but it's really freaking tight. And also, it's a struggle to get this to move, especially with all these spiky parts poking my finger. Not great. For his hands, he does have swivel right here. He does have articulation in the wrists. There you go. And then for his torso, there is rotation, as you can see. Not the best. It can lean forward. Not exactly. It can't even lean back. And for some reason, my copy of the figure, his waist area does not want to move. I've heated up this figure so many times, I cannot get it loose, and I don't want to break it, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And for his legs, he can spread out this much, which is not too bad, because even with all this stuff here, he can still actually spread out his legs decently. For kicking forward, he is going to have some problems here because of the skirt piece. He does have a single jointed leg. No, double jointed leg. There we go. As you can see right there. It doesn't look pretty, but at least you do get double jointed articulation. For his feet, he does have articulation down here, swivel, and toe articulation. And for upper thigh swivels, they do not move at all. So that's pretty much all the articulation for this figure. Now, let's show what he looks like with the sword accessory. And this is going to hurt my freaking fingers because everything on this figure is just sharp plastic. So let me just get this in. Come on. Go in. Go into the hand, please. Okay. All right. There we go. There he is with his sword. Looking pretty cool. So yeah. And I got to make this comparison section really quickly because I just got a warning on my phone that it's going to run out of battery. So this is not great. All right. For the first comparison here he is with Deadman, who is also a member of the Justice League Dark. And here he is with John Constantine, who is the leader of this team. And for the last comparison, here he is with Sandman. Alright, that is all the comparisons for today's review. I do apologize for this quick little ending, but my phone is going to run out of batteries. Alright, if you found today's review informative, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.